Hi everybody. I got a sweet tooth, and then I had these beets that I had to do something with. You know, I gotta peel them, cut the tops off of them, and see what I can do with them. Aren't those some pretty beets, y'all? Y'all ever cooked beets before? Well, I'm gonna cook these because I don't want them to go to waste. They're too pretty beets to go to waste. So get over here and see if I can cut them. Now, you can cook these without pickling them. You can just cook them in plain water. We'll get this thing out of it. So, everything I cut off of my plants or anything I grow in the garden goes in a container that I can put in my pots, because that's the fertilizer to them. Now let's see. I love pickled beets. I mean, I like them just cooked, sliced and cooked. I'll eat them that way too, but I'd rather have them pickled, because to me they just taste so good when they're pickled. And I just peel them like you do a potato or anything else. Go ahead and put these over in my compost container. Put those right there for the second. Rinse off my cutting board just a little bit because it got a little bit of dirt from the turnip tops and stuff. Rinse my beet off. Make sure I don't have any dirt on that. And the thing about beet juice is, you know, it dyes everything. It dyes everything red or pink. Now, I'm going to proceed to try to slice these. And I like them kind of thin. You don't have to do them too thin. Maybe about 1/4 inch thick, if you can. And I've got a slicer. I just didn't want to get it out. I've only got 2 beets, so And I'm going to place them right in my pot. My mom always made plenty of pickled beets, cucumber pickles, every kind of pickle in the summer. Because we always had a real good garden. Just be careful you don't cut your fingers. I'll rinse this off again. Now, all you do, if you want to just cook beets, is put water in there and just boil them and cook them like you would a potato, and just eat your sliced beets when they get cooked. Like I said, I like to pickle mine. I'm not really going to measure, but I'm going to put a couple of tablespoons of sugar in here. That should be enough. I'm going to put some apple cider vinegar. You can use regular vinegar. It doesn't matter. You don't have to use apple cider vinegar. Let's see how much is in here. Exactly a cup, y'all. And I'm going to add a cup of water. I'm going to put it on my burner over here and just start cooking it. Cook it just like you would, like I said, potatoes. Say you were boiling potatoes for potato salad or something. Just cook your sliced beets in plain water. Cook them till they're done and serve them. But I went a step further. I'm pickling mine. So I'm going to actually cook them in my vinegar, my water, and my sugar. Some people will cook them in plain water first. They'll drain them off. Then they'll add their vinegar and their sugar, bring them to a boil, turn it off, and just let them sit there. I say, why go to that extra step when you can cook them right in your sugar and your vinegar and your water to begin with? You know, that's easier to me. So that's what I do. Now, we're going to cook a dessert with some pears. I was craving something like this, and I didn't know what. And I had some pears come with a food order. So I decided, okay, I'm going to fix me some dessert pears. First of all we're going to do is cut them in half. harder than I thought to cut them. Now, we got to get the core out, and I need that little bitty knife that I just had with the beets. Now you can leave them just cut in half to cook them and get the core out of the inside, or you can cut them in quarters. It's totally up to you. It just depends on how hard it is to get that core out because you don't want to cook the core. And I think I'm going to go ahead and quarter them. Oops, my board moved. You don't have to peel them, but you do need to get this core out. Because we don't want to try to eat a core with our dessert pear. I'm going to set these aside because I've got another one to cut up. I'm going to use 2 pears. And like I said, you can cut them in half or you can quarter them. Either one you want to do. It's totally up to you. I don't know if I can get that core out. Let me try it. Sometimes you can get the core out depending on how hard the pears are. But I was going to show you both ways. So, as a dessert, you may like to leave the pears in half. There, and I'm just going to cut that little stem part off at the end. But I got my half a pear and I've got the seeds out of it, and all I did was take a spoon, a tablespoon, and go right up under where that hard core is in the center. It takes a little bit of strength. You don't want to push too hard. If you push too hard, you'll go all the way through your pear, and you don't want to do that. Cut those little dark ends off, you know, where they grow. You don't want those on there, because we don't want to eat that. But like I said, I'm going to show you both ways, and then you can choose which way you want. I've got some cinnamon. Oh, you know what? And I always forget something, don't I? You know me, I always forget something that I got to go back in the refrigerator to get out. It never fails. It never fails with me. I had to get my butter. Had to get my butter. Let's check on our beets. They're boiling. But I want to get you close so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to put some butter in my pan. And don't forget, all that stuff goes in your compost pile. You don't want to waste any of that. I'm looking for my dish rag and I had it right there. Okay, what we're going to do is sprinkle some cinnamon. And sugar. Just a little bit of sugar, not much. On our pear pieces. We're going to get our pan hot and melt that butter a little bit. Ooh, I'm going to have to get all the sugar up off of the stove because I don't want ants. Those ants will zoom in on that sugar. Oh my God. It'll look like we've been invaded. It'll look like we've been invaded by creepy crawlers, y'all. Now you can use brown sugar as well as white sugar. That's up to you. Or you could use both if you like both of them on there. Some people do this in the oven. I prefer to do it on the stove. Now I'm going to put my pears in. My half pears are going upside down. As well as my pear pieces, they're going to go upside down, the skin side up, the best you can. I think I'll have just about enough room to put those in there. Like I said, I can't forget to get this sugar up, because I will have ants devouring my kitchen if I do leave it there. Any little crumb of sugar, it will attract all those ants. Now we just want the sugar to caramelize a little bit on the bottom of those pears. Guess you can see. Our beets are boiling. Now see that the beet juice, the vinegar, the sugar, will soak into the beet while it's cooking, and to me it makes it so much better. Now I'm going to cover my pears. I'm going to turn my heat down really low. And I'm going to let them cook for about 20-30 minutes, something like that. As well as my beets. They're going to be cooking for about 20-30 minutes until those beets are done. They're tender like you would a potato. And then I'm going to bring you back. Now, after your pears have been cooking for, say, 10-15 minutes, you're going to add 3 tablespoons of vinegar. Balsamic vinegar, if you have it, a good quality. And we're putting the lid back on, and we're going to continue cooking. Let me kind of now we're going to cook them just like that until they're done for about another 15-20 minutes. Well, we're back, y'all. I think my beets are done. We'll get one out on a plate and try it. But see, this eliminates the hassle of having to cook it twice. You just put your sugar, your vinegar, and your water, and your cloves if you want cloves in there. I never put cloves in mine. And the beets absorb the vinegar and the sugar and the water while they're cooking, so you end up with a really good beet when it's finished. Just one step, put all the ingredients in the pot and cook it. Y'all take a bite. Don't that beet look good? Pickled beets, y'all. That is so good. Y'all, I love pickled beets. Love them, love them, love them. And beets are good for you too, y'all. Y'all take a bite of that beet. Pickled beets. Mmm. Now at this point, you can put those pickled beets in a wide mouth jar if you have one. Pour your liquid in there with them. Put a lid on it. Immerse it in a pot of water and boil it for 10 minutes. Take it out, let it cool down. And it'll seal the top. You'll hear it pop. And you've just canned yourself some pickled beets. I think I'm going to eat mine. I don't know if I'm going to can them or not. I do have, I think, a jar or two that I canned last summer that's in my cabinet. So I don't know. I may can these, I may not. I'm thinking about it. But like I said, all you have to do, you don't need a canner if you just got one jar of beets. Get you a big pot that you can put the jar down in, that the water will come up over the top of the jar. I mean, you can can your pickled beets in pint jars if you want. I put mine in half pints. And that way you don't even need a great big pot. You just need a pot big enough that it would be about that deep in water to put your jar in. And boil it for 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. Take it out, let it cool down on the counter. You'll hear it pop when it cools off. That means the lid's sealed. Tighten your lid down and just leave it. Store it away. Or you can even take your ring off of your jar. A lot of people will take the rings off a day or two later. Sometimes that's what I do. When I first can them, I leave the rings on. And then a few days later, I might take just the ring off, because the lid itself is sealed. It's not coming off. You can take the ring off. That way you can use those rings on other jars that you're canning. But canning pickled beets is just that easy, y'all. I'm going to put this aside. I'm going to get me another dish. I'm going to check on my roasted pears. Oh yeah, we need to leave the lid off of it a little bit. I don't think there's anything left in there. I think the vinegar is pretty much boiled out. But I think that pear is done. Go ahead and turn that burner off. I'm going to get just a little bit of the liquid from the pan if I can. See if that's hot. And it's basically just butter and sugar and cinnamon. Put it right over your pear. And we're going to take some good old-fashioned raw honey. I'm just going to drizzle a little bit of honey on the top, not much, just a little. Now you can eat this pear hot. You can let it cool, put whipped cream on it if you want. And like I said, some people will do this in the oven to roast a pear. Me, it's too hot here in Texas right now to keep the oven going so much. So I prefer just to do it on top of the stove. But there's my pears, y'all, my roasted pears. Look at that. Don't that look good? Looks good, y'all. See if I can get a piece that's cooled off a little bit. Oops, I didn't cut all the way through that piece. I'm moving around in some of that honey. Y'all take the first bite. And like I said, you don't have to peel them. The peeling will cook. So you don't have to peel them. But look at that. Roasted pear, y'all. They're hot. That is so good. But like I said, if you prefer to do it in the oven, put your cinnamon and your sugar on your peach half. Put it in a frying pan with a little bit of butter. Kind of caramelize the sugar to the pear. Take that pear out. Put it in a shallow pan that you can put in the oven. Put it in a preheated oven at 400 degrees and cook it for about 30 minutes. But I prefer to do it this way. It's just as good. Even cold, these pears are good. Hot. But here's something else you can do with it. If I can get into the refrigerator here a minute. I thought about this before, but I wasn't going to do it because the pear was still hot. But this is an option too. Remember hot apple pie? Well, this is almost like a hot apple, not a hot pear pie. Only you don't have the crust on it. But this is a serving suggestion. You can put you some whipped cream on there. Don't take much. And then, of course, you got to eat it before the whipped cream melts on your pear parts. But that's a nice, good dessert right there. Oh my God. The whipped cream, just put it right over the top. How quick is that for just a quick, easy dessert that's so good? If you have apples, you can do an apple this way. Y'all take another bite. It's got a little bit of whipped cream on it. It hasn't melted. Just because something is quick and easy, simple, low cost, does not mean it's not good, y'all. Try this. You'll love these pears, these roasted pears fixed on the top of the stove. You'll love these pickled beets. If you eat pickled beets, you'll love these. If you're growing beets, cook them in your pot. Add vinegar, add water, add sugar. Cloves if you like. I don't like to put cloves in mine. But I love pickled beets. And I love these pears. They're so good. Especially on hot days when you don't want to have an oven going for hours. Because if you put these in the oven, they tell you to cook them on 400 for like an hour. I don't want my oven going at 400 degrees for an hour in this Texas heat. It's just too much. Now, for a special occasion, if I'm going to bake a cake, I might turn my oven on and leave it on for an hour or so to bake my cake. But other than that, if I don't have to put this oven on, I don't turn it on. Everything of mine is fixed on top of the stove. So I'm going to finish eating my pear, and I hope y'all will try it. Try it with apples too, because apples are real good. So, I'll see you on my next one. Bye now. Love y'all. Well, hi. I decided to add this part to the video. I decided instead of eating my pint of pickled beets, I was going to show you how to can them. All I've done is put them in this pot because it was deep enough that I could put my jar in and put a lid on it. That keeps steam to the top of your lid. I've left them in there for about 14 minutes. I'm going to turn the heat off. And let's see, I am going to do something I don't usually do. Well, wait a minute, maybe I can find my, here it is. I'm going to take it out of the hot water, set it on a towel or a mat, and then just leave it alone and let it cool. And I can already see it's sealed because when I first put that lid on that jar, see if I can get it over here and do a close-up. But as you can see, that lid has popped down. There's no hump at the top. That means that jar, that lid is sealed. If it was still rounded at the top, it wouldn't be. Usually they don't seal till after you take them out and you put them on a towel or something and let them cool down. And as they cool down, you can start hearing the lids go pop, pop, pop. And that means it's sealing. Each jar will pop when the lid goes down and seals. But that one's already sealed. It sealed while it was in that pot of water. And you can see that's not a big canner. It's just a small pot, big enough for that jar to go in and be able to put a lid on top with that jar inside. Because I found you don't really have to submerge the whole lid and everything under the water. As long as you can get it in a pot with water deep enough to cover the jar and be able to put a lid on the top of your jar to hold that hot steam in around that lid, that is sufficient. It will cause it to seal just like that one did. But I wanted to add that. Those 2 beets, that's all I had was those 2 beets. That made a full pint jar of pickled beets. And I had just enough liquid in that pot to fill the jar when I put the beets in there. So that was just a cup of vinegar, a cup of water, about 4 or 5 tablespoons of sugar, and I did throw a couple of whole cloves in the jar before I sealed it up, or before I put the lid on it, which I didn't do, when I was cooking them. But to do beets, pickled beets, to can them for the winter, that's how easy it is. I just had 2 beets, and I don't want to eat all of that right now, so I put them in a jar, and I canned them. Just that easy, y'all. I hope you'll try it. Love y'all.